Greetings, YouTube. So I'm currently watching a video about the Cybertruck from the Throttle House. That's the name of the channel. Two gents who are currently on a road trip with the Cybertruck. They're trying to really give it a shakedown over like 500 miles, which is, I'm looking forward to the entire video. But it got me thinking, because one of the hosts said that the Cybertruck is the perfect interpretation of an electric truck through the lens of what cisgender Musk required the truck to be. The engineers weren't said, we want you to build the perfect electric truck from the ground up. We want you to build the perfect electric truck that the guy at the top once built. That's a much different design philosophy. When a guy says, here's what this thing has to be, now make it fit this. As opposed to, here's the design concept. We need the truck to do this, this, and this. I want you to design it from the ground up so that it meets or exceeds all of those requirements within the constraints of, physical ability to design. So it got me thinking, what is the perfect pickup truck? And if you search for that term, what is the perfect pickup truck design? You'll get lots of hits, but they're talking about the best designs on the market today, or how to pick the best truck, or things like that, or the best truck for this particular. No, that's not what I'm asking. I'm not asking what is the best truck in the world that exists, or even in the world that has existed. I'm asking if you were going to design one from the ground up, internal combustion or electric, what would that be? I apologize for the noise in the background. That's my washing machine. Also a machine. We're talking about machines here. Kind of appropriate. Um, what would that be? Now, if you ask my wife for those parameters, she's going to give you a much different design concept than if you ask someone that pulls trailers that have a tractor on it. That's a different kind of truck. And my wife's design for a truck is going to be a small truck, um, two-person cab, maybe a little bit of space behind it, not a big vehicle. The Ford Ranger is pretty much the perfect size for my wife. And if you ask me what I think a pickup truck is, I'm going to tell you I want something that's a little bit bigger. I want to be able to get a 4x8 piece of plywood in the back, okay? Or even if the bed has to be a little bit smaller, at least get me a cage that I can put on top so I can put a 4x8 piece of plywood on top so that I can carry a 4x8 piece of plywood or some similar objects that size, because that is pretty much the largest object I personally can imagine ever needing to move, 4x8. So if I can't have a truck that's quite big enough for that, say if I don't want to go to a truck that large and I want something closer to what my wife wants, then get me have a rack I can put on the top that I can then put that on and ratchet strap it down. I'm going to require certain contact points. I want lots of space, places where I can hook ratchet straps. I want them on the bed rails. I want them in the front because I have to go this way across the vehicle. I want to make sure I can get them up underneath the bumper in the back. For example, I drive a Chevy Cruze. There's nowhere on a Chevy Cruze under the trunk to hook a ratchet strap. I plan on amending that problem this summer by putting a U-bolt through the bottom of my wheel well where I keep my spare tire so that I can put a ratchet strap when I want to ratchet strap my trunk down because I have an object that is too big to fit in my vehicle. But I still have successfully gotten pretty good size objects inside my vehicle because you can put the seats down and I can slide things in through the trunk. But I want the option of having that trunk ratcheted down, and there's no ratchets point. I can't imagine why you wouldn't do that. All you had, I mean, it doesn't have to be very big. It could be a U literally this big of steel underneath there, and then you'd be good to go. But every car I've had before this had something like in it, had something that I could use. There was something under there I could hook a ratchet strap to, and this doesn't have it. So for me, I want utility in a pickup truck. And if someone were to say, okay, hey, you can buy any kind of vehicle that you want right now, it would not be a pickup truck. It would be a small van. It would be a small van. That way I can carry things inside, put a roof rack on top if I have really large objects, And that's more utility to me. I want that space inside so I can get objects in there, close the doors, and we're good to go. I want space on the inside so I can have things on the walls, so I can have tool racks, so I can have gear. So it's not on the floor, so it's not cluttering up any space where I need to put stuff, but it's on the sides of the inside of the vehicle. That's where I want my stuff to be. And I mean, I've introduced a tool wall into my shop, and I love the thing. I made it out of scrap, but it was still a tool wall. It's a dedicated space where I can hang things and hook things that are too large or too weirdly shaped anywhere else, but I want them first order retrievability. I want them right there where I can see them. So everyone's going to design something different, but I think that there is some kind of like platonic solid of a pickup truck, one that everyone could agree with. Yes, that right there is the best design. I'm not sure it exists, but I think it's possible. And I love the idea of designing something that meets that definition of the ideal. I've often said that complexity is simple and simplicity is complex, meaning that if you want to make something, it's not difficult to just keep throwing crap at the wall till enough of it sticks that the thing works. It's a nightmare of a design, and you will never want to be tasked with the job of having maintained the thing, but it works. And I have encountered far too many machines like that in my life working in manufacturing. But if you get something that is incredibly simply, beautifully designed, and it doesn't ever have to be changed again, here we go as an example of that. This is the Open L. Doesn't matter what size Open L we're talking about. The Open L is an absolute quintessential design of beautiful elegance and simplicity. Another great example, and this is showing you that I am, in fact, a knife nut. Here you go. It's Puko. I cannot say the guy's name who designed it, but this is in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Why? Because it is one of the most elegantly designed Pukos that's ever existed. It is one of the most elegantly designed objects that has ever existed in the world. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. And it does it with every single perfect line. There's nothing here you don't need, and you don't need to add anything. And to do this is an incredibly, unbelievably complex task. You have to rely on a lifetime of craftsmanship and design philosophy and experience. You have to make so many mistakes before you can design something like that or like this. You don't come out of the gate with this. This is something that was gone through endless iterations before you achieve it. And I think that's possible to do with a truck. I know that's a weird thing to say. I don't have a truck. I am very likely never to own a truck. The idea of a small van does intrigue me. I really like that idea. Um, but at the moment, I do not have such a thing. Uh, so I want to know, have you ever seen anyone write articles about this or videos about this where people were discussing if you were going to design the perfect vehicle to fit this parameter, whatever that parameter is, this is what it would look like. And then maybe a real world object that is as close to the ideal as you could get within the constraints of what modern manufacturers are going to want to do. I guess if you wanted to build a custom vehicle from the ground up, you could, and they do exist. Um, but that's not something the average person can do, is it? You know, you can design, I can dream up of things in my head and I build them, but they're not going to be to the quality that someone who has done it for their entire life has. I design stuff all the times and I build them. And sometimes I'm really happy with them and sometimes I'm not. But they're never going to be the same quality as this. So let's talk about the perfect truck, perfect design. Let's talk about the concept of the design ideal.